Hello there BookTube, how are you doing? Today I'm doing a tag, and I'm going to be doing the interrailing / Eurorail tag, which was created by Mark over at Booktime with Elvis. I've been really enjoying this tag. It's just been really fun. I suppose why I'm enjoying it is it's a sort of imaginary journey that you can go on when we're not really able to travel as freely as we have been in other times, obviously. And before I kind of get into the tag, it's been reminding me a bit of a few of the themes that have been coming up as I've been reading the Book of Disquiet by Fernando Pessoa, and particularly this early section. There's a theme that comes up over and over again about travelling and about what real travel is, I suppose. I'm just flicking through to see if I can find it. I find it really interesting. Sometimes it's kind of funny, the way that the way that Pessoa brings it up. Anyway, here it is, and I'll just read a paragraph because I think it's quite cool. So on his journey, he's saying, "I did not leave from any known ports. Even today I would not say which port it was because I have never yet been there. Besides, the ritual purpose of my journey was to go in search of non-existent ports, ports that were merely entry points, forgotten estuaries, straits between irrepressibly unreal cities. On reading this, you will doubtless judge my words to be absurd, but then you have never travelled as I have." I just like that, just that idea of what it is to travel, why we travel, and maybe if we get to the roots of those reasons, maybe we don't have to travel at all. But even if that's not the case, it's really fun to do things like this tag, and just go on, fun little imaginary journeys. So I'm gonna get my answers to the questions out. Actually, I don't have any of the prompts out, so I'm just going to get them up too. You begin your journey in London. Dr. Johnson said, "When a man is tired of London, he is tired of life, for there is in London all that life can afford. Which book can you read, reread, and read again and again throughout your life?" There are loads of great books that I could put for this. The first book I thought of would be the last book that I read, and as soon as I finished it knew it was an instant 5-star read, no doubt about it, which was the invention of the invention of morale. Sorry, I was getting it muddled up with The Island of Dr. Moreau by H.G. Wells, but that wasn't it. It was The Invention of Morale by Casares, but then on reflection I realised it's actually quite short, and maybe, being the book I just reread and reread, it'd get quite boring, so it's maybe not a very good answer. So now I was thinking of Borges and his fictions, ficciones, sort of his first two small collection of short stories bundled up together, and I could definitely reread those over and over again, so I think that'll be my answer. Although maybe I'll put something like Bleak House by Charles Dickens in second place. Sherlock Holmes lived at 221B Baker Street. Have you ever visited the home of an imaginary character? I've gone on a few holidays where we tried to link it to either a literary character or an author or something. So we went camping in West Wales, and nearby there was a Dylan Thomas sort of trail, I guess in an area he used to ramble around sometimes when he was away in the country trying to get away from it all, every now and then. I've seen all the Dracula stuff in Whitby, because I suppose at the end of Dracula a lot of that happens in Whitby, or not the end, but a substantial part of the second half, something like that, and stuff like that. But then when it comes to the home of an imaginary character, the best I could think of was Sherwood Forest, home of Robin Hood. Sherwood Forest isn't too bad. I can't remember it terribly well, I was a kid, but there's a good petting zoo. And then the next one, this is from Three Men in a Boat. So Harry asked me if I'd ever been in the maze at Hampton Court. So that's Jerome K Jerome in Three Men in a Boat. So have you ever been lost in a book, and not in a good way? Did you completely lose the plot and not have the slightest idea of what was going on? Please give an example. I suppose not necessarily always in the way that this prompt is suggesting, because often if I get lost kind of plot-wise in a book, which happens actually a fair bit for me, I'm not a massive plot reader always, so often I just accept the fact that I'm going to get lost for a bit and I'll pick it up later and make sense of it later. So more often than not, it's not that I'm lost in what's happening, I'm just more lost in why it's happening or why I'm being told this by the author. But I was thinking of a book of poetry. I was thinking of John Berryman's 77 Dream Songs, the first 7 of his dream songs. And I got pretty lost in those. I couldn't really make head or tail of them. Not that I didn't enjoy them, and not that I don't want to go back to them, but yeah, I was pretty lost. Where was I? Oh, great. So you head to St Pancras and board the Eurostar to Paris, and within a couple of hours you arrive at the Gare du Nord. That's cool. The Père Lachaise Cemetery is on your itinerary. Have you ever been there or made a pilgrimage? Have you ever been there or made a pilgrimage to a literary site? I haven't been there, never been to Paris, but it is on my itinerary for when I go there. But I have been on a little pilgrimage to Haworth, to the Bronte parsonage, and yeah, there's some great walks around there as well, obviously up on the moors, and yeah, that was really great. I'd recommend it if you get the chance. It was strangely emotional for me. I found myself tearing up looking at one of Charlotte Bronte's gloves, because it was really small, and it's quite hard to hold back the tears. And then what's some of the best historical sites that you've been to? And I was kind of spoiled for choice where I grew up. I grew up in North Wales, and North Wales has loads and loads of castles. A very sort of condensed number of castles for the amount of land there is in Wales. I don't know if I said that very well, but where I grew up, there's along the coast there is a castle every day's walk, and that was really cool. And then another one I was thinking of, a historical site that's also, I suppose, a literary site that I made a little bit of a pilgrimage to. And pilgrimage is an appropriate word, would be Tintern Abbey, which is not far at all from where I am right now actually. Maybe a 30-40 minute drive down the motorway. Yeah, so from the Wordsworth poem, but it has its own fascinating history of its own, and I suppose all the Wordsworth pedants will be saying that the poem actually has nothing to do with the abbey at all. It's really about the landscape, and the landscape around Tintern Abbey is amazing as well. Yeah, so that's not far away at all. I should actually add here that I've actually never been abroad. I have a passport, but I only got it really not long at all before COVID, so I haven't had a chance. Probably the furthest away I've ever been is Guernsey in the Channel Islands. Yeah, I would like to make the most of it at some point. Let's move on. So Gertrude Stein famously said, "America is my country and Paris is my hometown." What is your country, and what town other than your own have you felt at home in? And this is one of those weird ones, because I'll probably say that Wales is my country, even though it's not the country that my family are from. My parents and my grandparents didn't grow up in Wales, and they all grew up in England. I don't think all my great grandparents. I think some of them grew up elsewhere, but yeah. you know, so I was born in England, but moved to Wales, I think, young enough to have been brought up in the culture to really feel an affinity to it, and really not feel Welsh, not feel English at all. And I'm still in Wales, and Wales is very much my country. And what town other than your own have you felt at home in? So I suppose, yeah, Cardiff probably. I didn't grow up in Cardiff, so my town would be a small village out in the middle of nowhere, almost in North Wales. But yeah, I'd probably say Cardiff. I think I found my feet in Cardiff fairly quickly, and it's not a terribly big city, but yeah, I have quite an affinity to Cardiff now. Moving on. Cafes are everywhere in Paris. I like to sit in one for even a couple of hours, skimming through a book and people watching. If you have been to Paris, where is your favourite place to visit and favourite thing to do there? If you haven't been to Paris, what would you like to do, and what would you like most to see and do there? For me, I'd love to visit the catacombs and visit the cemeteries as well. Yeah, all those kind of morbid things. I'd also love to visit Shakespeare and Co. as well. The you know, fairly fairly famous English language bookshop. You know, so all the sort of maybe slightly stereotypical bookish things that you might want to do in Paris. And other than that, I'd just like to wander around, really, to be honest, and just yeah, just maybe get a bit of a feel for the place, and you know, do what Mark was saying in the prompts. Really, I'd love to sit at a cafe or a patisserie and just people watch or read or sketch or something. I think that'd be lovely. Okay, let's move on. So after a few days of eating pain au chocolat and drinking maybe one too many café au lait, or lays, I don't know, my French is not good. You decide to head south. You head to the Gare du Nord and board the train to Madrid. It will take you 11 hours and 26 minutes and you will travel 654 miles, which is 1,052 kilometres, for those of you who measure distance in kilometres. What is the longest train journey you've ever taken, and have you any favourite books or films on trains? The longest train journey I've taken isn't really that exciting. I haven't been any massive cross continental train trips or anything like that. I once travelled from my small village in North Wales down to the south coast of England to get a ferry to the Isle of Wight. So I don't know how many miles that was, but that was from Penrhyn Drive all the way down to Leamington Pier. It was about 11 hours, I think. Yeah, probably a similar amount of time on the train, but maybe not quite so many miles covered because it's much slower. Do you have any favourite books or films set on trains? I think a film that's come up a lot is The Lady Vanishes. I love the old black and white Hitchcock version. I wrote down a book as well, and I can't remember what I said. Oh, that was right. There's a short story by Sylvia Plath called Mary Ventura and the Ninth Kingdom, and I thought it was very good, very strange, but kind of evocative and mysterious, and you know, you can read it in about half an hour, and yeah, it's really good. So yeah, Mary Ventura and the Ninth Kingdom. It's a good story set on a train. Then you're lucky that you can ride in comfort through France over the Pyrenees into Spain, unlike Captain Jack Aubrey, the post-captain, who had to don a bear suit and answer to the name of Flora to cross the mountains. Have you got a favourite book featuring a manhunt and or subterfuge? I was thinking of Light in August by William Faulkner. The whole book isn't about a manhunt or subterfuge, but the sort of crescendo of the book, I guess, is is a manhunt. One of the main characters, one of the central characters, has been arrested for a crime, and sort of after he's been judged and I think sentenced to death, he escapes from the prison sort of wagon, I suppose it was, and runs away. And there's this really horrific manhunt for him that does isn't very nice. Yeah, so I say Light in August by William Faulkner, one of my favourite novels, if not my favourite novel. Then the Spanish national anthem famously does not have any words. If you've seen them singing at football matches, they are really just humming along to a tune. What is your favourite instrumental only piece of music, and are you prone to whistling? I can't really whistle, no. I can do this. Yeah, I can't whistle. In terms of instrumental pieces of music, I really love Danse Macabre by Sanson, and the first of Satie's Nocien. So, you know, da 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 da. Yeah, I love that. Let's move on. So, Cronus / Saturn, Devouring His Son by Francisco Goya is, to my mind, one of the most disturbing paintings I have seen. You can see it too if you visit the Prado Museum in Madrid. What is one of the most disturbing books and or paintings you have seen? I forgot about the books bit in that, so I was just thinking of paintings, and I was going to agree with Mark. I think almost any painting, sorry, my eye's gone really itchy. Yeah, almost any painting by Goya, I'd say, in that Black period. Yeah, they're terribly disturbing and unsettling. There's one that's quite sad and unsettling, of a dog, just kind of, its head just kind of coming out of this black, I don't know, it seems to be this dark like rock and then a really dark sky, you can't really tell the difference, and just a little dog's head in the middle of the canvas, really small, just popping up over the rock, looking like someone's hurt it, and it's yeah, it's really sad. And then obviously the Saturn, there's well, I wrote down its name. There's one where it's like a pilgrimage, and he'd done a version of it earlier on, and everyone's really happy and singing songs in a really lovely way, and they're surrounded by green hills and everything. It's called the Pilgrimage to Sant Isidro, and then yeah, in this one, it's almost like they're being led to some terrible place by a gang of madmen or drunkards, and you see these really tortured, sort of writhing, twisting bodies on their way, on their strange, terrible pilgrimage. So yeah, anything from Goya's Black period. I'm trying to think of a really disturbing book now. No, off the top of my head, I can't think of one worthy enough to go along with Goya's painting. And then, oh, I've put down the prompts. I'm really disorganised, sorry. Oh, no, that's the end, isn't it? So we'll pause our journey for now, but if you've enjoyed it, we'll continue in the near future. Yeah, that's the end. I'm not going to tag anyone because I know a lot of people have already done it. If you'd be interested in joining in on this journey, if you yeah, want to see where it goes, please feel free to give this tag a go. And I'd recommend watching Mark from Book Time with Elvis, you know, doing the tag. So I'll link that underneath, and I might link a few other of my favourite responses to this tag that I've seen so far. I've missed a few actually, so I'll have to do some catching up. But yes, sorry for being so disorganised. I normally try to get my tags up nice and early on a Tuesday, but started a new job and I'm driving in to do it, and yeah, there's been less time for recording and trying to work out my new rhythm. So yeah, forgive me for that. It'll get ironed out eventually. But yeah, I'll see you in another video soon. I hope, and yeah, I hope you're doing well. So yeah, have a good one, and I'll see you soon. Bye.